When I was a kid and I promised my parents that I would do something, I kept saying, yep, I'll take out the garbage. Yep, I'll clean out my closet. Yeah, I'll clean up my room. I'll clean up under my bed. I will, I will, I will. I promise, I promise, I promise. And oftentimes I didn't do it. And then I get in trouble. I'd get grounded or I'd get told, do it or else. It's time we start saying, do it or else, or grounding this government. Let's go.
Welcome to Bakes on Things.
Good morning, Canada. Get your sip of coffee and tea ready. It is going to be a long weekend. Happy Thanksgiving long weekend to our Canadian friends and families. It's the first sip. How many times can this government hold a campaign-style podium, wave a glossy PDF, and promise a new industrial era in this country? One that apparently starts sometime in the mythical future again, because it didn't start today. Yesterday, Mélanie Joly rolled out yet another domestic strategy to save jobs, create jobs, attract investment, unlock potential, and win the global talent race. It's the greatest hits album of political buzzwords, but here's what's missing. Anything at all that starts today. Not one permit, not one shovel, not one contract awarded on the spot, just more promises in the future tense, just like they always do. We will, we can, we need to. The only thing they ever execute quickly is the press conference about it itself. Are we done with this yet, Canada? Are we finally picking up what they are not putting down, which is shovels in the ground? Jolie's pitch was 3 pillars. That's how the media reports it. Protect jobs, create jobs, attract investment and talent. If only she was actually doing that. She even said companies would rather have contracts than subsidies. Well, surprise, surprise there. Great line. Now, show us those contracts, would you? What we actually got were promises of targeted financial assistance, talk of buy Canadian procurement for the umpteenth time, and a shout out to the major projects office yet again. The PM's shiny new fast track machine that somehow, as part of all of this, is going to unleash $60 billion in private investment. A good number, except nobody's attached to it. It sounds bold until you look at the actual fine print of the projects already underway, which are overwhelmingly projects that already exist, like LNG Canada Phase 2 in Kitimat, Red Chris Mine expansion, already applying to switch to Block Cave, and the port expansion in Montreal, which has been years in the planning and now inching forward, and a small modular reactor at Darlington, which was already approved long ago by Ontario. And of course, critical mineral projects that were already well underway as well. Had nothing to do with the major projects office whatsoever. Well, that's not ignition of strategy. That is repackaging and regifting like you might consider doing at Christmas time or whatever you celebrate. Because, well, people do that. They take gifts they've already received long ago that they don't use and repackage it and claim they are the ones that bought it for you. So glad you like your new gift. But LNG Canada Phase 2, well, it's an add-on to a plant that already shipped cargoes this past summer before the major projects office actually got involved. Weird. The government didn't launch that yesterday, did they? Well, Red Chris, it's been operating since 2015. Expansion's still under review as well, by the way. The port? Well, the Port Authority has actually been grinding through approvals for a long, long time and actually just reached financial close today in water works with Aecon. Real progress, of course, yes, but not to do with the major projects office. And Ontario greenlit the Darlington construction months ago. Federal pressers do not pour the concrete on that. Workers do. These are real projects, but Ottawa is treating them like new toys that it unboxed or re-gifted to you, Canada. But they had nothing to do with any of these projects. They didn't move anything along. They still haven't moved anything along from what I hear, and they won't ever move anything along because those projects are already on the go. So we need to really start to hold this government accountable to this future stuff. Because on protecting jobs, the government just announced a $400 million federal loan to Algoma Steel plus $100 million from Ontario to survive the tariff squeeze and pivot to domestic demand. Translation, more debt on a balance sheet while Ottawa hunts for headlines. Helpful to Algoma? Probably. but it's still financing or still financial engineering, I should say, and not an order book. If contracts beat subsidies, then where are the contracts? And then there's this "we can build the best ships, planes, drones" talk that we heard Francois Philippe Champagne screech out the other day, and Joly did again yesterday. She boasted that Canada can build the best ships, the best planes, the best drones, and that our supply chains are ready for that. Let's test that chest thump with you, shall we, Melanie? On ships, our national shipbuilding strategy has produced vessels and an entire museum wing of delays and cost explosions. The Navy's Canadian Surface Combatant price tag has ballooned from $60 billion concepts to an analyst estimate of Canadian 100 billion plus over time. Even the simpler Arctic offshore patrol ships took years to actually steady. That is not a system ready to sprint ahead for any of us. And then we have even more projects that, again, did they ever happen here, or are they even happening here? Because wait, if we're the best, why did BC Ferries just award 4 new major vessels to CMI Waihei in China? Billions of dollars sailing offshore because apparently our timelines, our capacity to produce them, or costs couldn't compete. Even Quebec's Davie Shipyard publicly blasted the process for handing the work to China. That's not sovereign industrial muscle. That's a procurement capitulation. And this is, again, where you're saying something we can, will, or in the future may do, but in reality, it says a whole different story. On planes, for example, where's the proudly Canadian fighter jet? We're buying 88 US F-35s for tens of billions of dollars, with costs rising per the Auditor General just recently again. On drones, the Royal Canadian Air Force finally picked a platform, but that was again the US-made MQ-9B Sky Guardian. First deliveries still years out. Our aerospace supply chain is real. We've got Bombardier, Pratt & Whitney Canada, A220. But the flagship defense platforms we need, most of those are imported. That's the opposite of "we build the best," Melanie. You named all the categories, but in all those categories, we buy from somewhere else. What are you talking about? We don't do any of that, and we aren't anywhere near doing any of that because everything we've procured so far is from a foreign country and is still years out. So back to that 60 billion promise you gave us about all the investment about to come in. The government's own write-ups list projects the MPO will review and recommend with a 2-year maximum approval timeline. Impressive until you see the list, which are expansions, phase 2s, and projects already financed or under construction. What are we doing here? Ferrans McIlvenna Bay in Saskatchewan. What about that? Construction updates or stockpiles, engineering 98% complete before this week's podium. The port, years in the queue. Ontario's SMR, provincial approvals been in place for a long time, as I said. Ottawa is taking a victory lap on a race others fired up the starting gun for years ago. And this is a massive, massive problem with this government. Promises into the future, nothing today. Then there's the promise to win the global talent race. Talk about an absolute joke. With what? A brochure? Visit Canada. Canada's combined top marginal tax rates sit above 53% in our biggest provinces. Food bank use just hit an all-time record in 2024 and kept climbing this year. You don't lure the best talent on earth with slogans while households are crushed and take-home pay evaporates. You do it with speed, certainty, and less friction. You fix the problems domestically before you ever can attract new talent. The exact things our permitting and procurement systems aren't delivering today. It's unreal. People actually believe this crap. And it's usually liberals. They see the headlines, they see the 6-paragraph production they've put on from the press conference. Joly says companies prefer contracts over subsidies. So show the damn purchase orders. Where's the same day authority to buy Canadian steel today for specific bridges and ships today? Did Gordie Howe get built with Canadian steel? The way the US does it by America, not what we're doing here. Where's the binding contracts for the next Coast Guard tender that must be built here with a published schedule and penalties if they don't? Where's the one-page order that every home under Build Canada Homes uses domestic steel, cement, and lumber starting now? Again, future promises. It's all in the someday plan. The US sets targets, locks in contracts, and then actually builds. Harper used to do that. Ottawa holds the podium to announce things that they intend to intend. This doesn't work for us anymore. This country is sick and tired of this Liberal government and all of these empty announcements of things that may happen down the road. Notice the rhythm. Tariff headlines hit, the PM's team teases a nation-building push. The MPO rolls out a list padded with projects already in motion, and ministers deliver speeches about unlocking future potential in the future of the future. Then nothing material happens on day one. Next month, they'll hold a new event to say they're still committed. The story advances, the country does not. And this is a problem. It's a massive problem for you and for me because we voted these inept, I'm not even going to say it, people into the government. Real execution would have sounded like this today, okay? We signed binding procurement for ex-Coast Guard vessels at Yard A with first steel cut on November 15th. We issued a ministerial directive that every federal housing project will use Canadian steel and cement beginning today. We published the permit numbers for Red Chris and the port in Montreal milestones, and the clock started this morning. We awarded a drone co-production line to a Canadian plant with offsets attached and dates you can put in your calendar. That's what today means. That is action. Everything else, just branding, just fake announcements, just fluff. Canada doesn't need another future tense strategy. It needs a government that can pick up a pen, sign something, order something, and do it today. Something that moves dirt within the next 30 days. If you insist we can build the best ships, planes, and drones, prove it with a contract that keeps the work here. Not in China, not in the US, not under review, not in the future, at a brand new office that mostly curates projects other people already kicked into gear. Until then, save the slogans. We're done. The only thing getting fast-tracked in Ottawa is the photo op every single time. Enough. Thanks for watching Bakes on Things. This has been The First Sip. I hope you have a wonderful Friday. We will have a final word or a last word episode this afternoon. We will have our weekend wrap on Saturday, and we will be back Monday on Thanksgiving Monday as well. So nothing changes for us, but a great long weekend for you. It all begins after today. Can't wait, and we will see you this evening on The Last Word. Have a great Friday.